Unresolved differences between people represent the largest reducible cost in many businesses. Yet, they remain largely unrecognized, claimed a major business study. Why do we let people agree to disagree when we can accomplish so much more together? For help on this, we turn to Andy Bounds. A communications expert, Andy Bounds has been honored as Britain's Sales Trainer of the Year. His book, The Jelly Effect, How to Make Your Communication Stick, was the best-selling business book in his country a full year after its release. Listen as Andy Bounds shares how to create consensus.
As we all know, the number of people we want to influence every day is huge. So today's session has one simple aim, and that's to help you get more agreement from more people more often. Sound useful? Yeah. All right, cool. So let's start with this. So if you want people to do what you want, they only will willingly do so if it's in their self-interest to do so. So it is our job as communicators, as managers, to make sure that we stress the benefits to the other person of doing what we want them to do. Now, this can take two guises. Firstly, it's accentuating the positive. In other words, people understand exactly why it's in their interest, why it's a good thing for them to do it. However, it is equally important, sometimes sadly even more important, that we can also eliminate the negatives. I've seen many organisations fail spectacularly by presenting all the promises about a new product, a new service, a new strategy, a new vision, a new division, just new stuff, and getting all excited about it, and people going, yeah, but I haven't got any time. I don't have any time to do this, so I'm not doing it. So we have to be able to not only stress the positives, but we have to be able to eliminate these negatives, which will stop people saying yes. So we can either start with the positives, or we can start with the negatives. I think we should start with the positives because it's more friendly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a look about how we can make things more positive so people understand it's in their self-interest to do what we want. It's the simplest way to create consensus. For this to make a lot of sense to you, what I want to do is ground it and make it real. So I will start off by teaching you the theory, but we will ground it by using a real-life example which could be relevant to any of us. And the example I'd like to share with you is, I'd like you to imagine that you have created a new form to be used in the performance reviews of your staff. So you have to get your middle managers to love this and they're going to use it properly. You have to get all your staff to love this so they're going to use it properly. And what people tend to do when they want to create consensus is send an email to everyone saying, see attached, new form, use it. Cheerfully yours, Andy, and it doesn't tend to work. So if we're going to create consensus, we have to be able to accentuate the positives. Now the way to do this, the first step is to play what I call the I don't care game. You play the I don't care game. And what you do with this, ladies and gentlemen, is you think about how you would start the communication if you were talking from your agenda's point of view. So you might say, new performance review form, which means a lot to you, but nothing to them. And then you imagine them saying, I don't care, when they hear about it. Now, you have to respond appropriately. You can't say, well, you should care. You know, that's not what we're looking for here. And also, I don't want you to say, well, I don't care either. What we want to say is this. To stress the benefits, to accentuate the positives, we use the phrase, well, that's a good thing for you because. It's so important, I'll say it again. Well, that's a good thing for you because. Now, don't forget, this is in the preparation phase. Those words probably won't pass your lips. It's in your head as you're preparing for the communication. So you start off like this. I'm going to talk about this new review form to my middle managers, the ones I want to use it. So my title would be New Review Form. They would say, I don't care. So you say, well, that's a good thing for you because this new review form will make the reviews go better. Now, if you think they will say, I care about that, you're probably going to get consensus. I think probably they won't care about that, so they will say, I still don't care. So you say, okay, well, that's a good thing for you because if the review goes well, you should get better outcomes from the review. I don't care. All right, well, that's a good thing for you because if you get better outcomes from the review, you're going to have a member of staff who has more ability, more motivation, and more confidence to excel. Okay, still don't quite care. Well, that's a good thing for you because if they have more ability and motivation and confidence, they're more likely to hit their targets. And before you say, I don't care, that's a good thing for you because if they hit their targets, you're more likely to hit yours. Do you understand how this works? Now, do you think your middle managers would rather receive something from you called new form, which sounds like lots of work, or here's a simple way for you to hit your targets? So playing the I don't care game, I don't care, that's a good thing for you because what you do by doing this is you turn it from your agenda into theirs. Now, I want to get consensus with many different groups of people here. So far, I've only talked about the middle managers. I also need to get consensus from the staff who are going to be on the receiving end. So exactly the same thing. I need to play the I don't care game with them. New review form. I don't care. Well, that's a good thing for you because your review will go better. I don't care. Well, that's a good thing for you because your review really dictates what happens in your career over the next 6 months and it's going to go better. I don't care. Well, that's a good thing for you because this review form will actually help you have a more successful, more enjoyable next 6 months. Make sense? So the same review form, to me, the review form is the exciting thing. To the middle managers, it's the fact that they can hit target because their people are hitting target. But when I talk to somebody else, the staff, the thing that really matters is they will have a more successful, more enjoyable next 6 months. So the same form looks totally different depending who you're speaking to. That's got to be better than sending an email saying, see attached form, use it. Now, when I do this with you, it sounds totally easy, doesn't it? But it's really not. So what we need to do is we need to become very good at this. I think you can see from what we're saying, if you can become good at this, the first words out of your mouth are going to let the other person go, oh yeah, that's cool, I'll do that. Okay? So I'm going to ask you in a second to go into pairs. This only works in twos really, so just find a partner. And think of a communication that you've got coming up soon, where it's really important that it works. Not a particularly challenging one for you, just something, a message you need to get out. And explain to your partner who your audience will be, who you want consensus with. Now, your partner is going to pretend to be your audience. So in my example, they might pretend to be the middle managers. And when you say the words performance review form, they are only going to say 3 words. And what are they? I don't care. Yeah? They don't say things like, prove it. Yeah? All we're looking for here is to get the benefits. We'll talk about proving it later, but for now, we just need to know what the benefits are. Now, if you're the person who is on the receiving end, you're probably going to think you're very funny saying, I don't care, 4, 5, 6 times. But you know what? After a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to swap over. And you're going to think of a message you want to get across, and your neighbour can get their own back by saying, I don't care to you. So let me just run through the steps so you're crystal clear. Firstly, you think of a message that you need to get across. One that's not too challenging. And you think who the audience is. Secondly, you explain this to your neighbour so they understand your message and they understand who the audience is. Thirdly, you read out your point and your neighbour says, I don't care, to which you respond with, well, that's a good thing for you because. If they say they still don't care, you say, well, that's a good thing for you because. I still don't care, that's a good thing for you because, until they say they care. Now, be sensible with this, the person saying, I don't care. I have actually seen people sometimes keep saying, I don't care. You go, well, you'll get paid more money. I don't care. Well, you'll be able to live on an island. I don't care. If you're not careful, it ends at world peace, So we don't want to go too far. Just be sensible with this, all right? Be sensible. But when you've done this exercise, what you will both be left with is a very audience-centred introduction. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes with that, and then we'll have a look afterwards to see how it goes, okay? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me stop you there. I have two questions for you. Question number one. Did you find that really easy or a bit hard? Hard, yeah? Question two, is it important or not? It really is, isn't it? Didn't you notice when you were the person saying, I don't care, that you didn't? So do you think that it's worth stopping now, or is this something you think you should work at? You've got to work at it. You've got to work at it. Now, when you have gone through the exercise, listen to how the introduction might start. If I'm talking to the middle managers, I don't want to start with the word performance review form because that's my agenda. So I want to start at the bottom with something that sounds really cool to them, and I work my way back up to the performance review form. So when you play the I don't care game, it has two steps. Firstly, you say I don't care a lot, as you've just done, and then secondly, you flip it, so you start from the bottom. So imagine you're middle managers and you work for me, and I say something as follows. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's fair to say that every single one of us would like our teams to perform better. I mean, they're doing great work, but sometimes they can lack a bit of ability in certain areas, sometimes they can lack motivation, sometimes they can lack confidence. And the problem with this is it means they don't do as well as we want them to. So sometimes they miss target. And of course, if they miss target, we miss target. Well, I've got some great news for you. I have created something which I think will get rid of all those problems. You know, when we have performance reviews with them, one thing I noticed is sometimes with the performance reviews, it wasn't always leading to an upsurge in performance. So I went back and have a look at how we might be able to improve things. And I've created a new form. So can you see this? Yeah? I haven't mentioned the form until sentence 5, 6, 7, 8. I've just talked about we all think this, we all know it's a challenge, we all would benefit from. Cool, yeah? Then, of course, if I want to create consensus, I go into another room, so I'd like you now to please to pretend that you're the staff who are going to be on the receiving end of this, and I will say something like this. One of my key jobs as the manager of this organisation is to help you do two things. Number one, be more successful. Number two, enjoy your job more. And therefore, I want to share with you something which we're going to be launching this year to help achieve both those aims of your success and your enjoyment. You know when you have reviews with your managers, and then we start again. I've still not mentioned the word form yet, but are you listening? All right. And this works for anything. So imagine if you were a trainer of Excel, the spreadsheet function. So very often, a trainer of Excel thinks, I'm an Excel trainer, I'm teaching them Excel, the audience has come to learn Excel, so I'm going to use the word Excel. Doesn't work. What you do is this. I don't care game. I don't care game. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Is it fair to say that you don't have enough time to do your jobs? Yes, that's right, Andy. We don't. And would it help if you could have a bit more time? Yes, it would, Andy. Well, there's a computer package which has been designed solely to achieve one aim, and that's to save you time. In fact, people who've been on this course before have reported back they've saved between 1 or 2 hours a day in some cases. If you're interested, it's called Excel. But the purpose of today's session is to give you guys as much time back as possible so you can focus on the job you want to be doing. Doesn't that course sound interesting? Yeah? And did you notice when I mentioned Excel? Not at the start. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you accentuate the positives. You work out your agenda, you play the I don't care game, and then you flip it by starting at the end. Now that is a great start. The problem is, What if your team are thinking, yes, but I've not got time, or yes, but I don't like staff reviews, or yes, but I don't really like my manager, or yes, but we had a new form last year and it didn't work. There's all sorts of reasons that people will have what I call a yeah, but. Yeah, but what about this? So we have to overcome these. Now, if you think about these concerns or objections or yeah, buts, or whatever phrase you want to use, there's only one of three things that can happen. Either we as the manager raise it, so we initiate the discussion, we bring this bad thing into our communication. Or they raise it, so they say, I've not got time. Or nobody mentions it. Now of those three, the worst one is the last one. Because people will say, great job, love your form, thanks Andy, bye. I've got no time. The second worst is them raising it. Because they won't say in a lovely reasoned argument, thank you very much for all the hard work you've done, Andy. The only slight challenge I might have with this is I'm very busy and these are all the things in my diary. I just can't see a window. Much more likely they're going to say, none of us have got time for this, and then there'll be all the yeah, and the whole launch is ruined. It sounds strange, but with the negatives, the best bet, not that nobody says it, not that they say it, we have to bring it up. Because the options are worse. Now, there's various ways you can do this. You can be very negative and say, I bet you're all worried sick about this, aren't you? Which doesn't tend to work too well. Or much more positive is to use a nice, gentle, empathetic phrase. The one I tend to use is, if I was you. So I say something like this. If I was you, I might be thinking, I understand what you're saying about this form, Andy, but I just don't have the time to be able to give it the attention it needs. So I say the words which I think they're thinking. Or, if I was you, I hear about this form and I understand the benefits of it, but we tried a new form last year and it didn't work. I just don't think the staff are going to like it. Now, obviously, you then have to address the concern. You can't say, and you're right, isn't it worrying? You do have to address it. So you might say something along the lines of this. If I was you, I might be thinking, great, but I just don't have time to do this. So therefore, what I have planned is this, to free up some time for you. At the minute, all of you are working on Activity X, which when I had a look at our diaries, I've realised we actually don't need to do in the next couple of months. So I would ask you to work with me on this, because we all want these reviews to work. Why don't we put X back a couple of months, and that way it frees up our time. Do you see how that works? Yeah? So what's happening now is I'm accentuating the positives, but I'm also getting rid of the negatives with phrases like, if I was you. The first time I ever worked in the legal sector, I went into London in the UK, and it was one of these beautiful corporate lawyer offices, just as you'd imagine, a carpet that thick, tables made of the finest oak. There were all these lawyers in their hand-tailored suits, and I'd never worked with a law firm before, and I knew that they were concerned that I hadn't worked with a law firm before. So we did the presentation as you do, and we accentuated the positives as you do, but then I said towards the end, if I was you, I might be thinking, this all sounds great, but you haven't worked with lawyers before. How do I know you can handle our lawyers? Is that right? Is that what you're thinking? Now, they could only have said one of two things. They could either have said, no, it's not an issue to us, in which case, okay, well, that's great. I just wanted to check because that might have been one of my concerns, so it doesn't do any harm. But actually, they said, yes, we are worried about that. And so I said, I don't think it will have any impact. In fact, I think the impact it will have is positive. Do you mind if I just share with you why I think it has a positive impact, and then we can discuss it? Would that be okay? So they said, what do you want to say? I said, if you want me to have worked with other lawyers before, what you're really saying is you want me to have trained your competitors. Now, if I am brilliant at my job and I'm thorough and professional, I will have made your competitors as good as I possibly can. If I haven't, then it suggests I'm not thorough and professional. If I have, then I've done everything I can and I loved them when I did it because they were my clients. So now I'm going to work with you. I'm going to teach you, if I've worked with other lawyers, the same stuff I taught them, which is probably going to take you to the same level. It won't take you above them because I did my best I could for them. I don't want to take you below them. You wouldn't want that. So the best I could offer you would be to be equal with your competition. My understanding from all our conversations is that you want to get ahead of your competition. So I think if we work together, I'm going to share things with your lawyers that literally no other lawyer knows because I've made it all up. And I know it works because, and then I explain some of the benefits. Later, when I won the work, I asked the question, just out of interest, why did you choose me? You know, you must have seen something you like, so tell me what it was so I can do it again. And she said, oh, well, you've never worked with any other lawyers. It was the best differentiator we'd seen. And it just shows that if you do things in this way, when you remove negatives, it often can become a positive. If you want to create consensus, if you want other people to be convinced by what you say, do you know the most important person to convince first of all is yourself? If you're convinced the performance review form is going to change everyone's life, you've got a much greater chance of convincing them it'll change their life. So we started off this session with having a look at how to create consensus. We said people will only do what we want if it's in their interest to do so. So we start off by accentuating the positives. We play the I don't care game and we flip it. So we start off with the fact you'll all hit target rather than here's my new form. When we've done that, we then make sure we play the I don't care game with all the other groups of people to make sure they all see their own benefits of doing what we want them to do. We're then very clear of the if I were you. So we think, why will they not adopt this? Why will they not embrace it? And we make sure that we raise it. And you know the great thing about this? If you do this, people can see why they should say yes. And do you know what happens when people see why they should say yes? They tend to say yes.